All right, coming up on this episode of Watch Culture, we're going to be discussing 2016's Hell or High Water and what might be my favorite movie from that year. It stars Ben Foster, Chris Pine, with supporting roles for Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham. You're going to want to check this one out, I promise. All right, we're back for another episode of Watch Culture, the show where we give you recommendations on movies you should be watching. Today, I'm talking about David Mackenzie's directorial debut, Hell or High Water. This movie stars Chris Pine with a supporting role for Ben Foster as his brother, and also features Jeff Bridges as the U.S. Marshal and Gil Birmingham as his partner. Chris Pine plays Toby Howard and his brother Tanner Howard. They're in financial straits. They're about to lose their mother's house, and unfortunately, Chris Pine's character has promised this house to his children. So, what are they going to do? They have to pay back the house, hell or high water. But also, they need to figure out how to get out of the situation, and they're going to do whatever they can, come hell or high water. So, it's kind of a fun little riff on both those ideas, this movie. And this is one of those times where you actually get to see the bank robbers who have real motivations. Like, these guys are starving and they're on dire straits. Ben Foster, of course, is the more impractical of the two brothers. He's the older brother, but he's also a little bit more impetuous and a little bit more willing to break the law, whereas Chris Pine is younger, but he has a family, and he's doing it because he has to. So we kind of see the movie progress through that arc and see how the two brothers interact together in bank robberies and how it kind of escalates before the final scene. Of course, Jeff Bridges is in it. He's portraying the gentleman. Jeff Bridges portrays Marcus Hamilton. He is a sheriff who's going after, it's either sheriff or U.S. Marshal, I'm not sure, but he's the law. He's the lawman in this movie. He's going after the two Howard brothers, and he's going to take them down. And his partner Gil is along for the ride. He definitely deserves, he did amazing in that role. He's playing sort of like an old, retiring lawman on his way out. And this is his final opportunity to catch some vigilantes. Interestingly enough, the movie has a very short runtime of about an hour and 42 minutes. So it's very tight-paced, very fast. The action kind of comes at you, left and right. Really, really, really well-paced film. I think, I don't want to ruin the movie, but I think it's kind of poetic that there are sort of hints at deaths that come later in the film. Early in the film, there's actually represented by 3 tombstones, or rather 3 crosses, in a graveyard at the beginning of the movie. So if you watch the movie and then rewatch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's one of those films that if you've seen films like Thelma and Louise, or you've seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or you've seen No Country for Old Men, or any gritty 1970s film, and we've done crosstalk discussion on 1970s specifically. If you've seen films like that where your characters didn't need to be pretty, they just needed to have a real story behind them, this movie represents that era and that type of story, and it does an excellent job of taking you to that point. I especially liked the relationship between the two brothers. I think that Ben Foster also did an excellent job as a supporting actor. A couple other things that I wanted to mention about the film, which I think you'll find interesting, is that David Mackenzie actually gave tribute to his parents in this film because they died while he was directing it and making it. So his mother, Ursula, and his father, David, passed away, unfortunately. So it was his directorial debut, so it kind of gives, for a theatrical release, obviously, it was his sort of... It was sort of a well-deserved first effort on his part, and I think he should be proud that while his parents passed away, he was able to kind of produce something so powerful from that period of time. Another thing that's really interesting about this movie is that Chris Pine was shooting Star Trek during the film, so he only had 2.5 weeks to put together his scenes. So again, kudos to Chris Pine for being able to pull that out so quickly. And lastly, one small spoiler about the film. There's a scene towards the end of the film when Tanner is in a confrontation with Marcus Hamilton and he ends up getting shot. He actually falls back and there's a rattlesnake there and it's coiled up and you can actually hear the rattlesnake rattling away after he's been shot. So it's kind of a neat allusion there as well about death. And if there's any other movies that I can recommend that came out recently, I think you should definitely check out a great little film called End of Watch, which is about cops. And it stars Michael Pena and Jake Gyllenhaal in the role of cops who get into a similar dire straits situation, but from the side of police officers. There's also Good Time, which is Robert Pattinson. And again, I know most people don't associate Robert Pattinson with great films, but he does an excellent job as a thief in that film. If you haven't seen Nightcrawler yet, with Jake Gyllenhaal, again, that's another movie that we did a review on. We did a watch culture review, Mike and I, and it was a great film in recent years. And lastly, another film sort of in that Western, modern spaghetti Western, which isn't an amazing film but entertaining, is Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Last Stand, where he plays a sheriff who's trying to kind of deal with sort of a Seven Samurai kind of situation, or Magnificent Seven situation with thieves and robbers in a town that he is a sheriff for. So that said, I hope you enjoyed my recommendation for Hell or High Water. I hope you check it out and that you enjoy it. If you do, please leave some comments and some likes. Even if you haven't seen it yet, just let me know what you think of the review and if you enjoyed it. Obviously, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. We've got tons of other reviews for excellent films and other reviews for music and board games. And lastly, I want to mention the interviews that we do and the professional discussions about the arts. So this has been my review for Hell or High Water. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Play Hell or High Water soundtrack.
Playing the album Comanchery on Google Play Music.
Oh yeah, I forgot there's called Comanchery and everywhere. Yeah, so this movie's actually called Comanchery in like a bunch of different parts of the world because I guess Hell or High Water does not translate